I've been noticing how deeply uncomfortable it is to rush lately. Rushing to make it on time, rushing to gobble down lunch, rushing to a crying baby, rushing to email somebody back or text somebody back, rushing to figure out what to do next. I'm over it. And today, on a new episode of Awesome Living, Gwen Aussem, am going to be discussing rushing and also the antidote to the rushed life. So it's really a light investigation and a curiosity into what's the rush? Uh, Rushing is essentially living life with an urgent haste. So many of us are living life with such urgency, we're missing the moment. We're missing those beautiful moments where we can take a deep breath and be present and enjoy the day. I think so many of us are actually living a dream that we once said we wanted, but we're missing it. And now everything I'm saying is a note to self, because I remember a few years ago when I was working so hard on my business and in the corporate world, I dreamed of having days that were not filled with meetings and needing to text or message people back or get things done on a tight timeline. I'm currently living the dream. And yet I still have a bit of that leftover, the residue of the urgency that has been sucking the fun out of life here and there. So that's why we're investigating this today. Now, what's interesting is if you've come to this episode, come to my channel, you're probably a bit down the spiritual rabbit hole enough to know that we are apparently eternal beings. So when we pass away, we actually aren't gone. So we're going to be here for a long time. So we might as well appreciate our human life right now and stop rushing it away. So here's my theory. I'm going to start with a theory on why we're rushing, and then also the cost of rushing, and then also how we can let it go, some ways I'm doing it. And I'd love to hear in the comment section on YouTube how if this resonates or if you're going to let go of rushing in your own life. So here's what I've come up with. The world is accelerating. You may have noticed the speed of technology, the speed of communication, it's going so fast right now, and we want to keep up. And so here's what I've come up with on why this urgency. So, and I encourage you to even take some time with yourself to really inquire within on why are you rushing? So here's what I've come up with. The feeling of just not good enough or an unworthiness. So, for example, when eating lunch and I just kind of throw food on the plate and gobble the food down and inhale and move on, I do have the time to take an extra minute to plate it nicely, to chew, to really appreciate the food in front of me. And yet I feel maybe there's that hint of, oh, not worth taking an extra minute to plate it beautifully. And so that's just an interesting thing that I came up with. Also, people pleasing. The need to respond to a text or an email right away to please someone else, or we say yes to something before truly checking in with ourselves to see, is this something I really want to do? Or another people pleasing that I've noticed in my own life is speeding. So as you may know, I have recently got my driver's license. It's sometimes when there's someone right behind me going so fast, kind of driving up my tail, I speed up, even if it's a residential area or I'm like, oh, I gotta go with the flow. And sometimes I'm like, I'm going so much over the speed limit right now. This is illegal. And I'm doing it because there's a giant truck behind me and I'm trying to keep up. So that was an interesting thing I noticed. And also, the people pleasing can be wanting to be respectful. It can be good sometimes, because if you say you're going to meet somebody at a certain time and you're half an hour late, that sucks. But that still is people pleasing, and there's still ways we can communicate so there's less of a rush. But that's just an interesting thing to notice. Another reason I believe we're rushing is coffee and sugar. I didn't want to say this because this is calling me out a little too hard, but I do realize the amount of coffee I drink, at least 2 cups a day, kind of back to back in the morning, that will speed you up. It's almost like inviting a rambunctious 2-year-old toddler into the driver's seat who's telling you where to go, I think. I hate that I'm saying this because I will have to do something about it. But it is true that caffeine can really make us feel that anxiety and to rush. Another thing I've come up with is the biological clock. Now, especially if you are a woman, you may be seeing a lot of messages about, I saw this YouTube video like why older women are getting desperate when it comes to dating. Like, oh my God. I mean, we do feel this pressure of the biological clock, and we're told as a society that you're, no longer as valuable when you're over 30, like things like that, that we could potentially internalize and make us feel like, oh, I gotta like find the perfect person and start the family and do all the things now. Uh, so that's a reason, a very valid reason, I think, a story that we're told that our value is decreasing as we age. Ouch. And the last reason I came up with for myself is just keeping up and a bit of the ego idea. So specifically when I worked in the tech world, there was that desire to always be 10 steps ahead. And there was so much of a rush sometimes to create work on deadlines that weren't even necessary. If I could go back, oh man, the amount of clarity and understanding I would have wanted before we move forward could have saved probably hundreds of thousands of dollars on some projects if I had the clarity and confidence to speak up, because we'd be rushing to show people we did some kind of work and it wasn't that impactful. And so, ouch. Um, and also, I guess that idea that we want to be under promising and over delivering. So there is that ego thing where it's nice to actually respond to people faster with the work and doing it fast. It's really seen as you're an efficient person. So those are the reasons I've come up with on why the rush. Curious if you have other ones. I'd love to hear from you in the comments on YouTube. Now, here's what I've been realizing is the cost of rushing, the downside of the rush. Number one is lack of enjoyment or just no fun. Rushing is not very fun. In fact, it's very stressful. Imagine being at a nice, fancy dinner, a nice romantic Valentine's Day dinner, and you're rushing through it, you're gobbling it down. I realized that it would be valuable to treat my regular lunch on a Wednesday as if I am enjoying a nice dinner. Of course, there's a baby beside me, so it won't be super romantic, but I can take a minute, a couple extra minutes. I really believe practicing in the simple moments will go so far, because a lot of us want to go on a vacation or, maybe Disneyland, St. Lucia. I don't know where you want to go. But if we're rushing now, chances are we're going to bring that rush mentality on a gorgeous vacation or trip that we want as well. The second cost of rushing is a drain to your personal power. A rushed person does not seem like a very powerful person to me. I was watching some Oscar speeches, and of course, there is a time limit for the people to say their speech and basically thank everyone in their life within 2 minutes or something like that. And it was very fascinating to me. The people who stood up there in their power and spoke, they really took their time and really didn't feel that rush. They were able to say what they wanted to say and still be within the time limit. And there was some people that won Oscars that they bounced between, oh my God, it's a rush to get this out, to just bouncing back into their essence, into their power. And it was like, wow, you can really feel how easy it is to watch somebody who's relaxed versus that rush of just, I gotta get this out quick. And also with talking about drain to your personal power, and this relates to the biological clock idea, is the more we take in the messages, the more we allow ourselves to click on the YouTube video. So listen to the stories of your biological clock is ticking away and you're behind. We're just going to feel more stressed and sad, even if you're single and you want to have kids or you want to have more kids. It's really just, it's not very helpful. Like I remember I did watch that video of why older women are desperate and dating. I'm like, oh, geez. And I remember seeing one of the doctors who, a female doctor, and she almost said with a glee something about how women's fertility goes down at a certain age. And I was like, wow, why am I watching this right now? So it's really good to notice when we're watching stuff that's really hurting us and draining that personal power and making us feel weaker or really sad and kind of in that despair. So we exhale and we know that we are in an age where well-being abounds. We can be healthier than we've ever been before. There's so much time to nurture and care for maybe if you want to have a child, if you want to have a family, or just be somebody who is nurturing and a great aunt, a great dog mom, whatever you want. But we got to stay in our personal power to really allow that to come forward. Another downside of the rush life is we become that magnet for the overwhelm, the frenzy, and the chaos. So isn't it interesting when you feel like you're in that frenzy of rushness that you start getting texts that you wish you didn't get or emails come through and you're like, oh, gotta pay that invoice or something like that. So we become that magnet where we really want to be a magnet for serenity, peace, and beautiful, easy opportunities. And another reason I came up with the last one is it causes a resistance to life, which creates more stress and more overwhelm. When we're rushing, it almost feels like life stop, like we're trying to stop it from happening and we start to resist it. And then that just creates a whole tornado of more of that stress. So we don't want that. Even as I say it, I'm like breathing heavier. So that's what I came up with. Now let's discuss what is the antidote to rushing. What is the way to have a serene life, the serenity life? Ooh, even just saying the word serenity just feels so right. So here's a couple ideas. Number one is clarity. So really knowing what feels right to you or being clear on your direction. How do you do that? Well, a simple way to start is just by writing down the things that you love. This is what I've been doing lately because being in a time where I don't have a clear focus on, oh, I want to run this company or have this job or this or that. I just want to have a wonderful life, an awesome life. So what I do is if I'm feeling a little unclear, write down the things you love, simple things, because you create more of what you're focused on. So once you know what you love or what feels right to you, it's so much easier to say yes or no and be firmly in your power when people ask things of you. The second way that is the antidote to rushing, aka the serene life, stillness. This is a big theme right now that I'm seeing out there on social media because of the people I follow and something that really resonates with me. What is stillness? Stillness is a motionless state. It's the quiet, it's the pause. I feel like I'm in stillness right now, just really rooted and centered in who I am and just not feeling rushed at all, just being essentially. The whole idea with stillness is that you slow down to actually speed up your life. One of my favorite quotes by an author named Sarah Landon is, "Stillness is the access point to acceleration." Stillness is the access point to acceleration. Isn't that interesting? So you're telling me if I slow down, I'm clear, I'm quiet, I'm tuning in, my life can go much faster? Yes, it almost feels like you slow down. You're in a Honda Civic. I have a Honda Civic, by the way. You're in that car, which I love the car. Good car, reliable. But maybe I slow down to the point where I actually can decide, hey, I actually want to get out of the Honda Civic and maybe go into that nice Mercedes over there. That's how I feel stillness could be. It's like, let's pause to reassess, look around, and make a new decision. The next way is to simply stop. If you can, if you have the consciousness at the time, can you stop in the moment that you're rushing and ask yourself, what could I do right now to bring me joy? Now, let me paint a picture for you. Say I am feeding my son, he's 9 months old. It's a little bit of a rushed vibe. He's hungry, How can I just take a stop? His smile brings me such great joy. In the midst of preparing a lunch for him, can I just stop and just go over to him and make a funny face and get him to smile? Wouldn't that just reset the energy and we could start making lunch with a new, more chill vibe? I think so. So just stop entirely if you can. And then the fourth one is let's prepare a little bit. So a lot of rushing comes from lack of preparation or waking up late. Usually it's in the morning. You wake up late and you already feel 10 steps behind before the day's even gotten going. That's words. So some ways to prepare. Yes, there's the tactical ways of can you get your clothes ready for the week, meal prep, that kind of stuff, which would be great. And I would love to get on the meal prep train. But simple things, water, rest, disconnect from the news or social media. That's a way that I've been working on it when it starts to feel really stressed. Conscious caffeine intake. That's how I'm going to look at it. Because, of course, you could say just take away all caffeine, take away all sugar. That doesn't feel right in this moment. But can I actually have a cup of coffee and consciously enjoy it? And even yesterday, I realized I came to that point in the day where it could be time for that third coffee. And I just said to myself, no, it wasn't coffee, it was sugar. I was really craving a ton of sugar. I've been on a sugar rush lately. And I just said, okay, I'm conscious enough right now that I can maybe make a different choice. And so what I did instead was made a smoothie, a chocolate smoothie. So it did have sugars from bananas and maple syrup, but it was consciously turning away from eating, cake or something like that. And it was great. I'm so thrilled I had the consciousness to do that. And today I'm on my second coffee and really intend to bring forward a real consciousness if I do want to have more, but I'll pay attention and perhaps have a matcha instead. So everyone, that is my take on rushing. And the opposite of that is the serene life. And that's what we're going for because that sounds glorious. So I intend to release that rushing vibe. And I really hope you join me in paying attention and letting it go so you can enjoy life more. So thank you so much for listening to this episode of the show. Love to hear your take on rushing or antidotes that you used in the comments section on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, I'll link below to YouTube so you can come chit chat. But for now, I simply wish you a serene and awesome day. Thanks for tuning in.